Welcome to this video on the notes on the different graphic types that you'll work with when you're creating graphics for the web. So what you're going to want to do for this mini assignment is to first open up Dreamweaver, open up a new page, and you want to recreate these two tables here, and we're going to use these as our basis, and then we'll take notes as we go, and I'll give you a few demonstrations about what I'm talking about. And when you're finished, you're going to save this file and link it up, and it's actually worth 5 points. So you can just pause the video here for a minute and then just use this as an example and then rebuild that. Now I will show you one thing, in case you don't know how to do this. See this one table, what I've done is I've merged the two cells on top to get this look. So I'll show you how I did that. I went insert, and of course I think my Dreamweaver might be a little different than yours, but insert a table. And I'm going to insert, let's say, 3 rows and 2 columns. So it'll look like that. And then I'm going to highlight the top 2 cells, right click, go to table, and say merge. And then that's how you get that. That's how you get that top cell to merge here, where it says compression methods. And then of course I can grab it over and put in lossless and lossy. So you want to go ahead and pause here, and then you can fill some of this stuff in, create these 2 tables, and then we'll start taking the notes. Okay, so I assume you've got at least the first table ready. So let's take the notes for these first 2 ideas about compression. Compression is making the file size smaller. So if we have an original picture, and let's say it's 700K, and we want to compress it down so that way we can transport it quickly over the internet and it will load fast. So there's 2 different methods that you can use when you're compressing graphics. You can use a lossless method, and essentially a lossless method means, change the notes, it doesn't discard any information about the original file. So once you compress it, the new compressed file is smaller file size, but somehow it's identical or can be remade to be identical to the original. You don't lose any information at all. Now that seems a little bit strange. How could you do that? So let's take an example to see one way that you might be able to do that. Just looking at today's this week's agenda, we'll look at a method of lossless compression. As you look here, you may you try to identify patterns. Let's say we're going to compress my text and make it in a smaller size. I don't mean like this way you don't see it, but actually make it so there's less text, but it's the same information. So one thing is, if you found patterns like checkout appears here, checkout appears here, checkout appears here. So there's at least 3 different times where checkout appears. So what I could do, I could go in here and I could replace that with, say, an asterisk each time. And I could go find other patterns that maybe exist with words that repeat themselves, and I could replace them with a symbol. Now if I just sent that page with all these little symbols on there, and when it got to the other end, it would be gobbledygook. So what would I need to send with it? Of course the answer is you send a key. So if I send a key along with that compressed message, that will help the person at the other end uncompress it or decompress it, then they can get back to the original. So that's kind of an idea of how you can do it. And with graphics, what we're compressing is we're looking for patterns and colors that are repeating themselves or are over and over again, and that's using that kind of idea. They're able to do a lossless compression. Now lossy compression, and when you type this in, you could feel free to summarize that, but it creates smaller files by losing or discarding some of the information. And what happens is the computer analyzes the picture, and it tries to take all the colors that the computer feels that humans wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. I didn't finish that. So if the human eye can't really tell the difference between this color black and this slightly different shade of black, it looks all black to the human eye as an example. So lossy will analyze the graphic and try to take away some of the information to make the file size smaller without losing much to the human eye. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a closer look at the 3 main file types that we work with: GIFs, JPEGs, and PNGs, and kind of categorize them based upon these different things that pictures need to be able to do. First thing is, what types of compression method do they each use? Well, GIFs use lossless compression. So they don't have, they don't lose any information at all about the original file. JPEGs use lossy compression. They do lose some information. And PNGs also are like GIFs. They use lossless. And truthfully, PNGs have been designed and built recently, and their basically purpose is to replace GIFs. So as we go down this, you're going to find PNGs should be able to do just about everything GIFs do, but better. Now, approximate number of colors. GIFs are limited to 256 colors. That's it. That's all they can do. And it kind of makes sense if you think about it. If you're going to try to compress them somehow using a lossless method, if you had millions of colors available, that could be quite a challenge. How are you going to figure out a way to compress that when all these different colors are in play? Now, it could be challenging, but apparently it's not impossible, because PNGs do use a lossless method, but they also do support millions of colors. So it can be done. Now, what supports transparency in the web? GIFs do. You can make something transparent if it's a GIF. JPEGs do not. PNGs do not, but an asterisk. And we're going to go over and look at a demonstration real quick where we'll take a little closer look at that with PNG. Because one thing that can confuse people, I'll come over here right now. Here's I got this spinner thing. What can be confusing is here right now is a white background, but if I come down to the canvas color and I say, hey, I want to make it transparent, students feel like, okay, if I save this, I call it new spinner PNG. If I come over to Dreamweaver, if I can find that, and I take that new spinner PNG and I stick it onto a page, and now right now it's white on, I can't really tell if it's transparent or not, so let me put a background color on this page. Give it a nice, how about soft gray? Okay, there you go. You can see that it's not transparent. So over here, I made it transparent, I saved the file, but when I came over and I put that PNG file on, it's not transparent at all. So only by going over to my optimized panel, going to my 2-up, and verifying, hey, I want this to be transparent right here. If I say no transparency, it won't be. Index, then it will. Then I have to export this, and I will export it right back to the other spot. And now when I come back over here and I have that new spinner GIF, you see now it is transparent. So the PNGs do not support transparency, and that's an important thing to remember. They don't support it when you're putting it onto the website. So that's the little asterisk. Now, retains the layers and effects information in Fireworks so the original file can be edited. In other words, once you convert something to a GIF or a JPEG, can you open that back up again in Fireworks and make changes? So like, let's say you spelled something wrong, you want to open it back up again and change the text. And the answer, of course, is no. Once you convert something to a GIF or a JPEG, it essentially flattens all of the layer information out of the file, and you can't go back in there and open it up and make changes. PNGs, of course, can. Quick demonstration on that. Here I have my web design file, my PNG. You can see I have there's the information on that logo. Here's the text itself. I can double click into here and I can make a change to it if I wanted to. That's all good. That's the PNG file. Once I exported this as a JPEG, which I want to do to get it onto the web, all that stuff becomes flattened into a single layer called bitmap, and I can't go in there and make any changes at all. It's all been like mashed together. And that's part of how the file size can get smaller, because it doesn't have to store that information. So that's a very important. Another way of putting that is that PNG file is the native file format of Fireworks. That's what all the files that you make in Fireworks are saved as automatically. Now, what do you use for photographs? And any type of picture that has a lot of color gradient. Do you use a GIF? No, you do not use a GIF. You want to use JPEGs. Why? Because it supports millions of colors, of course. Color gradients are like when you're doing things. Do I have one here? Text effects. Color gradient would be this glow here, because it's kind of softly coming up, changing as it goes. Of course, here's another color gradient as it's going from this darker purple and slowly changing over into the red as it flows through it. There's a lot of little steps in between this bluish purple and this reddish at the far end, and to fill all those in and make it nice and smooth, you need lots and lots of colors. So that's why only JPEGs support that. Now PNGs, once again, I say yes with an asterisk, because the PNGs will support all those colors, but if you just save this PNG file, let's say this text effects one right now, and let's say I'm going to go to 2 up. If I just save this, on the left you can see it's supporting all the effects and it looks great, the PNG file does, but it's 463K versus the JPEG, which looks essentially the same, is only 41K. So yes, it does support it, but you don't want to use it. Now, I do want to point out one thing. There's basically 2 types of PNGs. You've got this PNG file that's a file of fireworks that's got all this extra layer information, and that's really what's taking up all the extra file size. You do have a choice in your optimize panel to turn it into a get off of that, to turn it into a PNG 24-bit or 32-bit or 8-bit, and if you do that, it will remove all of this other information, will essentially flatten it down, and it will make it much smaller. So you can see a 24-bit PNG, the number 24-bit refers to how many colors are available. An 8-bit PNG only has 256 colors available, just the same as a GIF. So you can see over here how many colors are available, 256. If you switch it to GIF, same thing, you're limited to 256. So you do have that as kind of a little twist on it, that you can flatten PNGs into 8-bit, 24-bit, or even 32-bit files, as well as the original PNG that has all the layer information. And then finally, animation on the web. Now, GIFs do support animation. JPEGs do not. And here's one way of thinking, why would that be? What is animation? I mean, here's an animation over here, my new spinner. When I press play, I see it spinning around, right? If I look at my frames and my histories, close that up for a minute. Hey. Animation, as you know, is just a series of frames, and each frame, it moves the object a little bit. And when you play them all fast, and they blend together, it looks like it's really moving. So that's quite a bit of work. There's a lot of, basically lots and lots of pictures that have all been smashed together in one little file, and you want to get that to play. So if you're going to try to do that, you want it to happen quickly, you don't want the computer to have to worry about all the different colors. So that's why, you know, the GIFs, since they're limited to only 256 colors, that really goes kind of hand in hand with the animation. Now, something to think about, if you did take JPEGs, which had like millions of colors, like photographs, and you were to play them very quickly, boom, 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 you could make an animation, and you know what you'd call that animation? You'd call that a video. That's what video is. Video is something more like JPEGs being played, because all the colors there, it's, you know, real life. You're taking pictures of what's going on and you're playing it back. So that is available, of course. That's a whole different type of file and compression. So then finally, PNGs don't support animation on the web. And that's something to remember. That's something really important to remember. Because when you're in Fireworks, I have this PNG file right here, this new spinner, and I'm pressing play, and it's moving. So in my mind, hey, this animation is going to work. But if I link this up in my web page, here it is, new spinner PNG, and I link up my other one, which I exported earlier, which is my GIF, and then I actually look at this page, if I F12 it, we'll see what's going to look like. You can see the GIF actually spins. The PNG, it just shows you, you know, the first frame. So even though in Fireworks that would be spinning the PNG, but it does not, web browsers do not support the animation of that PNG file, so it will not animate on the web. Only the GIF files will. So that's it for these notes. This will be in the test, so, you know, take a little bit of time, study a little bit, make sure you understand. If you have any questions, let me know.